मार्क ग्रेनियर को मंच पर कविता पाठ के लिए आमंत्रित करने से पहले उनका संक्षिप्त परिचय आप सभी के सम्मुख प्रस्तुत करती हूँ। मार्क ग्रेनियर मूल रूप से आयरलैंड के कवि हैं। आप 1957 में लंदन में पैदा हुए थे। आपकी कविताएं विभिन्न प्रिंट एवं ऑनलाइन जर्नल्स में प्रकाशित हो चुकी हैं। आपका पहला दो संग्रह एयर ब्रॉन 2001 तथा द स्काई रोड 2007 में सामंत पोएट्री द्वारा प्रकाशित हो चुका है तथा आपका तीसरा संग्रह फेड स्ट्रीट जून 2010 में सॉल्ट द्वारा प्रकाशित हो चुका है। आप एक अच्छे फोटोग्राफर भी हैं तथा फोटोग्राफी के क्षेत्र में भी आपने महत्वपूर्ण कार्य किए हैं। आप वर्ष 2004 में विंसेंट वकले पोएट्री सम्मान प्राप्त कर चुके हैं। आपने वर्ष 2011 में द पैट्रिक तथा कैथरीन चैवेंज पोएट्री फेलोशिप भी प्राप्त की है। मार्क, प्लीज कम।
Okay. First of all, thank you to Rati Saxena and everybody else who made this possible. It's the first time I've been in India, and it's marvelous, I have to say. I was just, from the moment we began to descend through those huge big cloud temples and came down into Mumbai and then to Nagpur, it's just been a wonderful bath of sensation, and everybody has been very warm and very welcoming, so I feel very, very, very grateful and very privileged to be able to read here. The 10 poems selected here, it's interesting to see that these are the poems I sent, and they're quite a mix of different kinds of poems, so it'll be interesting to see how they go down. But the first one is called Present Continuous, and this is about it's about my mother, who died just over a year and a half ago. She was quite old, but I was taking care of her for quite a while, so obviously her death hit me. And this is called Present Continuous. Going on 2 months after you're dead, and I'm still saying, "Good morning, Mum," and before closing the door on what was your room, dark at first and now full of the lingering spring evenings, good night. Presumably, death is where time stops. So an afterlife might see past and present locked in the same room. I ache to see you again. But what will we do with ourselves and the rest of our loved ones floating in the ether? Beam eternal love at each other while the cosmos falls apart and flickers out? From here, it seems rather more likely that whatever you wish to call it will spare us all that, no matter. Drop the odd hint if you can, a song, a smile, and a passing dream. And when I begin to die, fool me. Be there waving furiously, door-framed inside that light-flooded telescopic tunnel at the end of the last fizzling neuron. See you then.
निरंतर वर्तमान। तुम्हारी मौत के 2 महीने पूरे होने जा रहे हैं और मैं आज भी कह रहा हूँ, शुभ प्रभात माँ। उस कमरे के दरवाजे को बंद करते हुए जो तुम्हारा हुआ करता था, शुरू में अंधेरा हुआ करता था, अब वसंत की लंबी शामों से भरा है। शुभ रात्रि। संभवतया मौत वही है जहाँ वक्त रुक जाया करता है, जिससे मौत के बाद की जिंदगी भूत और वर्तमान को एक साथ एक कमरे में बंद देख सके। मैं तुम्हें फिर से देखने को तड़प रहा हूँ, लेकिन तब हम अपने आप से क्या करेंगे? हमारे अधिकतर बंधुजन इधर या उधर घूम रहे हैं, एक दूसरे पर अनंत प्रेम की किरणें बसा रहे, जबकि कायनात अलग अलग हो टिमटिमाते रहे। यहाँ ऐसा लगता है कि ये वैसा ही है जैसा हम इसे कहना पसंद करते हैं। हम सब कुछ छोड़ देंगे, कोई बात नहीं, जरा कोई संकेत तो दो। यदि हो सके तो एक गीत या मुस्कान ही से, किसी बीतते स्वप्न में, और जब मैं मरने लगूं तो जोर जोर से हाथ हिलाते हुए खड़े रहना। दरवाजे भीतर ऐसे बने हैं कि रोशनी से भरपूर रहते हैं, सूक्ष्मदर्शी सुरंगों के सिरे, आखिरी सनसनाते सुनाई के अंत। फिर मिलेंगे। अनुवाद रति सक्सेना।
The next poem is a response to William Blake's famous poem, Tiger. I think that's probably a poem that most people living in Ireland or England or America, perhaps, most English-speaking people would probably have learned at some stage. It's almost like a childish kind of chant in a way. And yeah, the first spelling of the word tiger, of course, is how Blake spelled it. T-Y-G-E-R, it's the old spelling. So it's not a spelling mistake. So it's just called Tiger, Tiger. Tiger, tiger, kindled dream, catching, burning through our screen, images the eye consumes, lanterns in our living rooms. Symbol hunters set their sights, tiger lilies, tiger Christs, tiger, what do you suppose? Symbols rampant as the rose. Something for our every ill, tiger balm or tiger pill, bowl of tiger penis soup, guaranteed to cure the droop. What the chain saw, clearing your green and ancient furniture, brought the lights to swerve and spear, part of what's no longer here. Synapse from the jungle's brain, muscular as monsoon rain, God amongst the ghostly chaff. Should you growl or should you laugh? Tiger, tiger, hear the chant, vowel preceding consonant. See the footage, tread the path, flaming with your aftermath.
टाइगर 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 सुलगते सपने लपकते हमारी स्क्रीन में जलते आंखें जिन प्रतिबिंबों को ग्रहण करती हैं वे हमारी बैठकों में लालटेन हैं। चिन्ह खोजने वालों ने अपनी निगाहें जमाई। टाइगर लिली, टाइगर ईसा, टाइगर तुम क्या हो सकते हो? चिन्ह गुलाब जैसे फैलते हैं। हर बीमारी के लिए कुछ टाइगर बाम या टाइगर गोली, प्याला भर टाइगर के लिंग का सूप, हर निराशा की रामबाण दवा। श्रृंखला ने क्या देखा तुम्हारे हरे और पुराने साजो सामान को साफ करते हुए? रोशनी लाए भटकन के लिए और बर्छे उन दिनों के लिए जो अब यहाँ नहीं है। जंगल के मस्तिष्क से सूत्र युग्मन, मानसून की बरसात जैसे मानसल, भुतई भूसे के भीतर खुदा। तुम्हें दहाड़ना चाहिए या हंसना चाहिए? टाइगर टाइगर ये मंत्र है, स्वर व्यंजनों के पूर्वगामी। फुटेज देखो, रास्ता बनाओ, अपने परिणाम के साथ चलते हो। अनुवाद
The next poem is called Stolperstein, which is the German word, I think, for stumbling blocks. It's the name of a project, a lovely project, I think, where an artist called Günter Demnig, a German artist, has made it his life's work to make these little cobblestones, except they're made out of brass, and he puts them into the houses where Jews have been living, who've been deported during the Holocaust. And you know, it's an ongoing project, so he's still doing this all over Germany. It's a wonderful idea, I think. Anyway, so this poem is, I suppose, in praise of that project, and it's called Stolperstein. Someone is at work, prizing out paving stones. The work looks proper, official, though he is wearing a cement-dusted leather cowboy hat. Someone has made space for something, a little block capped with brass, a square palm print outside one of the houses of the nameless. Someone has done his homework, per want, a name, a date, whatever is available and can be packed. Someone has hammered in, punched each letter and number, each dent in the silence of the clean sheet, each word ringing with blows. Someone has laid it in your tracks, something to stumble on, a street testing its voice, ghost of a shine, blind spot flickering off.
कोई काम में जुटा है, गड़े हुए पत्थरों को खोद निकालने के। काम ठीक लग रहा है सरकारी तौर पर, हालांकि वो सीमेंट की धूल से भरा चमड़े का काउबॉय हैट पहने हो। किसी ने किसी चीज के लिए जगह बनाई है, एक छोटा सा पीतल जड़ा छोटा सा ब्लॉक, एक चौकोर हथेली की छाप उन अनाम लोगों के घरों के बाहर। किसी ने अपना काम पहले से कर लिया है वांटेड, नाम दिनांक और जो कुछ मिला, जो कुछ रखा जा सकता है। किसी ने ठोक दिया अक्षर और नंबर को, खोद दिया हर गड्ढा, सीधी पतरी की खामोशी से हर शब्द मार से गुंजायमान। किसी ने तुम्हारी राह पर लगा दिए, कोई इन्हें कुचलता चला गया। एक गली अपनी आवाज को पहचान रही है, चमक का प्रेत अंत बिंदु में टिमटिमा कर बुझ रहे हैं। अनुवाद रति सकते हैं।
This is just called Sped. Splayed on its back on the footpath, a grey squirrel, as it dropped just now from the scraggy overhanging trees. Mouth fallen agape, yellow cartoon incisors, the top ones darker, tinged with a raspberry stain. No sign of damage, creamy fur of the belly, shading to a milky brown tuft. It's a he. One dark eye almost grazing the concrete, forepaws curled, their little grappling hooks hooked on the air, the ghost of a last branch. The flip side, what it deposits at our feet like a gift. His luxuriant streamer, so soft you'd want to stroke it, stirring a little in the backwash from passing cars.
मेरी माँ को पीने को 3 जग पानी चाहिए। ये उतना ही मुश्किल है जितना कि होना चाहिए।
Okay. The next poem then is called Sips. Okay. And this is just a poem about my mother in her old age. When she was 93, she had to keep drinking water, and anyway, the poem explains it, so it's called Sips. My mother needs to drink 3 jugfuls of water, which is just as difficult as it ought to be when your 93-year-old bones are spiteful with osteoarthritis. Just keep taking small sips, I say, though I know well that in this desert water is far from ambrosial. I'd need to roll up all those blotting paper miles to uncover her, stooped over a mountain stream, darker than the unruly hair falling in her eyes, while she cups handfuls, deliciously cold, after the climb above some hazy post-war city, Munich, Belfast, Rome, whose busy streets have no room, no corner, for a 54-year-old son who keeps telling her to take small sips.
मेरी माँ को पीने को 3 जग पानी चाहिए, जो उतना ही मुश्किल है जितना कि होना चाहिए, जबकि आपकी 93 साल बूढ़ी हड्डियां आर्थराइटिस से दुखने लगी। थोड़ी थोड़ी घूंट भरा करो, मैंने कहा, हालांकि मैं अच्छी तरह से जानता हूँ कि इस नखलिस्तान में पानी अमृत से भी ज्यादा दुरूह है। मुझे मीलों लंबे सोखता कागज इकट्ठे करने हों, उसे निकाल पाने के लिए पहाड़ी झरने में उतरना होगा, जो कि उतने बेतरतीब आंखों पर धुलकते बालों से कहीं ज्यादा गहरे हैं, जबकि वो चुल्लू में पानी भरती है। स्वादपूर्ण शीतल जल युद्ध के उपरांत के किसी कोहरे से ढके शहर में चढ़ते हुए, म्यूनिक, बेलफास्ट या रोम जैसे, जिनकी भीड़ भरी गलियों में जगह नहीं है, और कोई जगह नहीं है 54 साल के बेटे के लिए, जो उससे बार बार कह रहा है, छोटी छोटी खून करो। अनुवाद रति सकते हैं।
This is my own little response to the events of 9/11, in particular to a photograph that was taken of one of those horrific photographs of somebody falling from one of the towers. This particular photograph, there was a big story about it, and there was a documentary about it, because they were trying to identify who the man was. So this is my response to it. Of a man falling. at ease looking, almost poised, though his soiled shirt has come untucked. He might be attempting to pass the one-leg stand test, or lounging between drinks at a party, his back braced by a wall, if the world had not turned him upside down into the plummet of street window sky, the brain in its cockpit, flight, the flight of his thought, a 10-second freight, for all we know, a counterweight. Okay, can I keep reading? Okay. Next poem is called, this is a kind of, I suppose you could call it something like an experimental poem, or at least it's the closest I've come to it. It's about what's probably the most common word in the King James Bible, and it's, I suppose, a secular vision of a secular fairy tale about the end of needing to have world religions. And it comes to pass, prayers, homilies, testaments, edicts, laws, words in rhythm with the raised finger, hands throwing open the gates, fist smiting the chest, formidably humble forehead greeting the floor. Such words refuse to be uttered or written. Tongues judder and falter and begin again, and judder and falter. Fingers once nerved by faith falter, fold, wilt into vestments. The parched sermon running on empty, the mumbled confession, the high pierced cries. And it comes to pass, this abrupt mass extinction of uppercase abstract nouns, lights going out in the aisles of the great god malls, hypermarkets, stalls, shutters rattling down on cathedrals, mosques, synagogues, street preachers, Torah, Quran, Talmud, Old Testaments, dead sea scrolls, born-again billboards, martyred walls, Bible paper, the hard, shiny white fire of the new leaf, the word, winking back into words, margins encroaching, our old blankness shuffling in the wings, hands but not in pockets, sifting what's left, everything sieved, panned, apart from and. I go straight on? Okay. Yeah. This is just called 10 thought bubbles, but it could be many more. The thought bubbles in question are really kind of something between a prose poem and an aphorism. So they're very, very short, little kind of hopefully pithy sort of statements and somewhat lyrical in places. So, two sensations that remain married in my mouth: the delectable shock of the first kiss and the first oyster. The muddied colours of sleep, the mind mixing its palate. Everyone appreciates metaphor. It's why we're mesmerised by the sea. The best sex is always close to comedy. Within minutes, seconds, an ominous iceberg melts to a tiny puddle. A drawbridge slaps down on a fort that's become a bouncy castle. Rectitude vanishes. High moral ground hasn't a hope. Every parade is asking to be rained on. That tabloid shriek of disgust, animals, is an unforgivable insult to the whale, the shrike, the hyena. Racism is the refuge of the deranged sheep, the kind that keeps pulling the wool into its own eyes with a vengeance. Speaking ill of the dead is one of the surest ways of keeping them alive. Everyone nourishes a secret desire to be owned, my people. Niche life, what other kind is there? Okay.
10 बुलबुलाते विचार। वे दो संवेदनाएं जो मेरे मुंह में हमेशा रहती हैं, वे हैं पहले चुंबन की खूबसूरत झंझनाहट और पहले भोगे का स्वाद, नींद का मटमैला रंग और इन्हें रंग तश्तरी में मिलाता मन। हर कोई रूपकालंकार की तारीफ करता है, तभी तो हम समंदर से मोहित हो जाते हैं। सबसे उम्दा प्रेम दरअसल संभोग, हास्य के करीब होता है। कुछ मिनटों में, क्षणों में एक बदनुमा हिमशिला छोटे छोटे गड्ढों में बदल जाती है। एक कलदार पुल सीधे नीचे गिरे पर उतरता है, जो कि उछाल से भरा गढ़ में बदल जाता है। महान सात्विक जमीन के लिए कोई आशा नहीं, हर परेड की बरसात की कामना रखती है। छोटी पत्रिकाएं घृणास्पद चिल्लाती हैं, जानवर, भेल, लटौरा और लकड़भग्गे के लिए न भूले जाने वाली तौहीन है। जातिवाद पागल भेड़ का सहारा है, जो बदले के लिए अपनी ही ऊन उधेड़ लेती है, आंखों में बदले की भावना लिए। कोई मृत व्यक्ति की बुराई करना उसे जीवित रखने का बढ़िया तरीका है। मित्रों, कोई ना कोई रहस्य हर कोई पालता है। आला जिंदगी क्या और कोई तरीका है? अनुवाद रचि सकते हैं।
Okay, the next poem is another short poem, and it's another kind of response, I suppose, to 9/11, except, again, it's not a direct response to the event. It's just something that I saw in a butcher's shop when I was in Spain, in a place called Colmenar. They had a big photograph on the wall of the towers, you know, the actual trade towers, that was taken by the butcher's son, and he had been there. They had the date underneath. He had been in Manhattan the day before, September 10th, right, the day before it happened. And, you know, the photo was kind of, I suppose, framing their amazement at his survival, or just that he wasn't there. Anyway, it's called At the Butcher's in Colmenar. A framed, blown-up photograph hangs on the wall. The t-shirted butcher's son and his wife on their honeymoon in Manhattan. The towers in the background, the date, September 10, 2001. Behind the counter, a steel door opens, a glimpse of pale, waxy carcasses. Smell so thick I could colour it black-red, the colour of history. Outside I breathe warm streets, damp from a recent shower. An old man swings past on crutches. What do I know about history? Dawdling under a nearby orange tree, its perfect, glimmering system, I think of reaching to pluck one. This is the last one. And this is my little, I suppose, my little anti-racist poem. It's called, the Irish are, I suppose, somewhat famous for writing curse poems. So this is kind of a reversed curse, or a blessed curse. And because it's a blessed curse, I feel I can make this curse for the whole human race. So it's actually dedicated to the human race. A blessed curse. May your children and your children's children marry again and again he or she whose skin is unmistakably, even in a dim light, that shade that has you most affronted and afraid. And may these marriages be devastatingly happy.